Hello, beautiful creative friends. It's Belinda, and I am so excited about this video that I have to share with you today. Today, I am doing a little bit of a Scraplift challenge with my lovely and very talented friend, Dealy D. She is a brand ambassador for Rosie's studio, and if you have been paying attention to my recent shares, I am very fortunate to have been invited to be a guest crafter for Rosie's studio. And since both Dealy D and I are working with the All Wrapped Up collection, we decided that we would do a little bit of a Scraplift challenge. So I have spent some quality time having a look through her Instagram feed, and I've chosen this layout that you can see in the top right hand corner now to Scraplift. I really loved the mixed media that she had in the background, and what you may not be able to see from that is that she actually placed the outline of a cut file over the top of the mixed media, which is what gives it that really nice, interesting effect. So I really loved that, and I haven't played with mixed media for a little while, so I wanted to give that a go. Now, I will, full disclosure, this is actually my second attempt at creating a mixed media background. For the first one, I made a few mistakes. I learned that Distress Oxides don't play well with other inks, and so I scrapped my first go and I've started again, and this time I'm just sticking with Distress Oxides in a few different shades of green. Now, in a little, I suppose, life imitating art, the layout that you see in the top right, which was Dealy D's layout, this was actually her mixed media fail layout, or her blooper layout. So my blooper is gone off to become something else, and this is actually my second attempt at creating a mixed media background. So while I've been chatting away here, I've been just applying ink. I'm just pressing that ink pad down onto this glass plate that I have, spritzing it with some water, and then using my paintbrush to just blotch it on. I am drying it off with my heat gun in between because I want that really layered look to it, and I've got it taped down, which kind of removes some of the warping from it, but I'm just going in and I'm just adding blotches of color wherever I think it needs it, and I'm not really too concerned about how it looks because I know that once I have laid my piece over the top, it's going to look amazing. So what you're seeing me place over now is the piece that I've cut out from some white cardstock. So I have actually cut those Christmas tree outlines from some white cardstock, and I will come back in shortly and you'll see how that all comes together. So I'm just about done with laying my green inks down, and then to finish it off I also want to add some splatters. So I have a white Liquitex acrylic ink, and I'm using my paintbrush here because I don't want really big splotches, so I'm using just it's a bit of a wonky paintbrush that's got some bristles that are not quite sitting flat anymore. So I'm just using that to splatter some white over the top. And then I will also come in with this highly coveted bottle of Heidi Swap Color Shine in gold in just a moment. And that ends up being some slightly bigger splatters. So I am drying off in between because I don't want them to end up mixing in with each other. So there come those gold splatters over the top. Now I did actually put this off to dry overnight, and you can see here this is how it looks all finished, but maybe the color shine is just too old now, but it's still, even though it had had more than enough time to dry, it was still quite sticky, and you'll see what happens with that a little bit later on. So as I said, I cut this Christmas tree outline out from some white cardstock, and I'm using the outside piece. So I'm not actually using the outline of the trees that were cut out. I'm using what's left, and then I'm adding that over the top of the mixed media. And this is really such a fantastic effect. I really, really love it. I love mixed media, but what I don't always like is the messiness of it and the inaccuracy of it. So adding this piece over the top kind of removes some of that. It gives you a little bit more control over where the mixed media is on the layout, and I really like that. So I did run it through my Mink, which is a little trick for flattening things out again, but you can see that some of that Heidi Swap the gold has really smushed and flattened and spread. I'm not too concerned with it because it is going to be in the background. And here I'm just showing you, I had originally planned on using those two photos, which I'd had printed for a while, and I've just gone and edited them in Photoshop. My husband was wearing a blue singlet, which just did not go with my color scheme. So rather than make the photos black and white, I went into Photoshop and I just edited his singlet to turn it from blue to grey. And that makes it stand out a little bit less in the photos. So to prepare these photos, I'm starting off by adding a white cardstock mat to each of them. This is something that I do on every single layout that I make. I know that I could leave a white border when I'm printing, but I prefer the added layer of paper. And adding that with some just plain white cardstock. I have a big bag of white cardstock pieces that have been cut off from creating different projects, different layouts, and I can almost always find a piece of cardstock that is the right size from that little stash there. So just trimming them down to make sure I've got a nice even white border, and then I will come and I will add a pattern paper background to each of them. And while I'm doing that, I will just mention that Rosie's Studio has been kind enough to extend a 10% discount to my subscribers who are wanting to purchase this collection for themselves. So you'll find the details of that, the discount code and the terms and conditions down in the description box below. One of the good things about this is that it is valid through till the end of the year 2023. So if you're not quite sure about pulling the trigger on a Christmas collection just yet, you do still have time. That is, of course, providing that it's still available in the Rosie's Studio shop. So I've added a red pattern paper. This is just from the 6x6 paper pad, and that was an offcut that I had left over from another project. And I'm going to layer those photos on top of each other. I've got a pretty good idea of how I want to embellish this. Having that layout of these two Scraplift really sort of helped guide me in selecting my embellishments, and I wanted to use those gold puffy titles for my title, and then I'm also going to make use of these really cute little tiny puffy alphas. So the puffy alphas are going to spell out the star of, and then I've got that word Christmas, and I am actually doing something that I very rarely do, and that is alternating the colors. So I know lots of collections come with multicolored alphas now, but I do sometimes struggle to use those, I guess because this is a Christmas collection and the color scheme is really quite red and green dominant. It was really easy to alternate those colors there. So that's where my title is going to go. And I want to lift my photo up off the background just a little bit, but I don't want to add too much bulk to my page. So I've got that piece of chipboard there, which came in some packaging with something that I purchased online at some point. And I'm going to cut down a little bit of that to adhere to the back of my photos. I find that this is really the perfect layering element for me these days. I don't like using thick foam anymore because here in Australia, scrapbooking albums are very, very expensive. And I want to make sure that I'm fitting as many layouts as I possibly can into those albums. So here I have stuck the chipboard down. I had to jump off camera for a minute to reload my ATG with some adhesive, and I'm using wet adhesive behind those photos because it is going onto a mixed media background. I always like to add wet adhesive because it just, for me, I just feel like it's going to be more secure over time. So here I'm going to play around with getting all of my pieces, my embellishment pieces, where I want them to be. I've pulled a few florals out from the floral ephemera pack and also a few of these tag pieces. I do also have an offcut, which is this this polka dot piece here. This is an offcut of pattern paper from another project, and I'm going to trim that down into a tag, but I don't actually think I use this piece. I'm going to pop this aside for another project. That little reinforcer piece, I have a reinforcer die which cuts out I think about 12 reinforcers in one go, and I've just gone and cut a whole bunch of those from a matte gold cardstock and popped them in with this collection because I do love tags on my projects, so I know that I will use those. But I've gone to the trouble of making that little tag there, and I know I definitely don't use it. I think because the pink tag has got just a lot smaller hole, and I wanted to replicate that. So I'm going to dig through my little bin here of tags from the journaling ephemera pack, and I've chosen this. It's kind of like a corally red, but I do want it to have more of a tag shape, so I'm just using that pink tag as a template to trim the corners off, and those are the two tag pieces that I'm going to go with. I don't need the whole tag, so I'm just cutting the tops off the top off them, and the rest of it is going to go back into that little bin to be used on another project. Same here with this little piece that says, I think it says all the merry details or all the magic details, something like that. And I'm just going to go and layer up all of my pieces here where I want them to be, and then I will actually go and adhere everything down off camera. And when I do adhere all of my pieces down, I do use some foam adhesive to add some dimension and to just give all of those little layers of embellishments a little bit more depth and make it a little bit more visually interesting. So a couple of foliage pieces, I'm going to tuck these in here. I'm creating a cluster to the top and to the bottom of the photos, and then I've just got that cute little deer there on the right hand side. You can see that off camera I have adhered everything down now. I've also added some twine to that tag that's at the top of the photo, and I have added some twine with a nice long tail and a bow in it to the tag that's on the left hand side. I've got my journaling now that I'm adhering down. That I type up on my typewriter, cut it down into strips, and then adhere that to my layouts. That is absolutely my favorite way to add journaling to my projects. And just to bring in a little bit more of that gold that's in the title, if the sticker pack comes with lots of little embellishment pieces. There's these little, I suppose, foliage pieces. There's also some little stars. So I've just tucked a few of those in around my embellishment clusters. And then I thought about adding some of these puffy stickers. I think I add one little Christmas puffy sticker in there just to try and bring a bit of green into that bottom corner to balance out the colors of the layout a little bit more. But then to finish it off, I'm going to add just one tiny little word here which says little star. I thought that was so appropriate for this layout. And then I'm going to reach for the enamel pieces, the enamel dots. Well, they're not really dots, they're enamel shapes. I'm going to sprinkle a few of those around, and then off camera I will also add just a few gold Nuvo drops. And then that will be it for this layout. I am so happy with how it turned out. I think I've really managed to pay homage to Dealy D's original, but still make it look like my own layout. So I will leave it there for now and say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.